Courtroom Shenanigans.
Welcome to Courtroom Shenanigans. In this series, Cop Killers, we take a look at the most brutal murders in the U.S. against officers in the line of duty. In the fourth episode, we feature California police officer Keith Boyer, who was murdered by convicted gang member Michael Christopher Mejia. We take a look at the events on the day of the murder, the capture and arrest, and highlight the key points in the trial and judicial process right through to the final sentence. February 20th, 2017, approximately at 8:03 a.m., a police department dispatcher received a call regarding a collision near Colima Road and Mar Vista Street in the city of Whittier in LA County, Southern California. The WPD dispatcher assigned officers Thomas Ossendorf and Keith Boyer to respond to the traffic collision. As the officers were driving to the scene to investigate the crash, unbeknownst to them, the car that caused the crash was stolen and being driven by an active gang member who just committed a murder hours earlier. 10 minutes before the officers received the call, at around 7:50 a.m., Winter Gardens gang member Michael Christopher Mejia, 27, was driving a stolen Dodge Stratus and was traveling southbound in LA County. The car Mejia was driving belonged to Roy Torres, the victim he just murdered, in the early hours of that Monday morning. As he approached the intersection of Colima Road and Mar Vista Street, Mejia collided with a car that was stopped at a red light. The force of the collision pushed the car into the vehicle in front of it and caused major damage to all three cars. Just after the call was announced over the radio, Officer Patrick Hazel asked to be assigned to the call as well. First to arrive at the scene of the collision was Officer Thomas Ossendorf. He parked his patrol car on Colima Road to the north of the collision and spoke with the involved drivers. Hazel was the next to arrive, and Ossendorf directed him to Mar Vista Street to contact Mejia, who was still seated in the driver's seat of the Dodge. Keith Boyer was the last officer to arrive at the scene of the accident. He pulled his patrol car behind the stolen Dodge, exited, and started speaking with Michael Mejia. As Boyer was speaking with the suspect, Officer Hazel, who was standing to the rear of the Dodge, asked the dispatcher to check the license plates on it. Officer Boyer moved to the passenger side of his patrol car to retrieve a fingerprint scanner when the dispatcher responded with information that the car was stolen. Advised of this new information, Boyer and Hazel both approached the driver's side of the Dodge. Officer Boyer told Michael Mejia to exit the car. Mejia initially protested, but then stepped out of the Stratus. Without warning or provocation, Mejia pulled a Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun from his waistband and shot Officer Hazel several times, hitting him in the stomach and striking his holstered gun. Michael Mejia then spun and shot Officer Boyer multiple times. Before Boyer could even draw his own gun, Officer Boyer suffered 3 gunshot wounds to the chest, fell to the ground, and died almost immediately. After being shot, Officer Hazel was able to take cover and move to the front of his patrol car. Hazel was able to fire 1 round from his service weapon, but couldn't fire any more, as the gun was severely damaged, having been hit in the shootout. After realizing his gun was unusable, Hazel held his position of cover and radioed for help. Officer Ossendorf was unable to see what was happening because of the positioning of the cars involved in the traffic collision. Ossendorf heard gunshots and started running toward Mejia and his fellow officers. When he reached the corner of Colima Road and Mar Vista Street, Ossendorf saw Officer Boyer lying motionless on his back in the street next to the driver's side of the Dodge. Michael Mejia was still armed with a handgun and was walking towards Officer Boyer's patrol car. While looking in the direction of the officers, he just brutally shot. Officer Ossendorf fired 15 rounds at Michael Mejia as he attempted to jump into Officer Boyer's police vehicle. Mejia was struck 1 time by Ossendorf. He then threw his handgun onto the street, raised his hands, and got down on 1 knee. Officers took Mejia into custody without further incident. Michael Mejia, who was shot by officers in the deadly gunfight, was hospitalized and being treated for 1 gunshot wound. Patrick Hazel, a Whittier police officer with 3 years' experience on the force, was taken to the local hospital where he later survived his gunshot injuries. Officer Boyer was transported to the UC Irvine Medical Center. Sadly, he was pronounced dead later that morning. Keith Boyer was the first Whittier police officer killed in the line of duty for 37 years. LA County homicide investigator John Corina, who was at the scene to investigate the murder, briefly spoke about the incident.
And then unbeknownst to the Whittier police officers, when they went to pull the car over, they had a murder suspect, not in a stolen car. It's two officers, and when they get him out of the car, they go to, I guess, pat him down for weapons. That's when he pulls out a gun and he engages them in a gunfight. One officer was hit, of course, went to the hospital, and he died. So the other officer is in stable condition right now.
Officer Boyer, 53 years of age, had served with the Whittier Police Department for 27 years, always wanting to help people. Boyer was a great communicator who was highly respected in the Whittier community. Boyer left behind a wife and 3 children. In the afternoon, just hours after the murder took place, the Whittier community came out to pay their respects to the fallen officer.
Why do the wrong people win? Why?
He was just doing his job. He was just doing his job.
It hurts. It's all of us. It's all one heart.
Probation officer Billy Pope, a good friend of Keith Boyer, shared his thoughts.
You could talk to him. He laughed a lot. He was one of the guys. And it was a good time in my life.
Whittier Police Chief Jeff Piper held a press conference the same day. He broke down in tears when speaking of his close friend.
You know, it's really hard for me to hold back. My tears, because all of us have been grieving. But we're going to get through it. This makes us stronger. We need to pull our head out of the sand and start realizing what we're doing to our communities and to our officers who give their life like Officer Boyer did today.
Early reports indicated that Michael Mejia was released under conditions set by Assembly Bill 109. Officer Boyer's death caused outrage and debate over that legislation, as well as other prison reform initiatives, which led to the early release of countless violent criminals across America. LA County Sheriff Jim McDonald briefly spoke about it.
AB 109 basically changed where they do their time. So the people who were previously in county jail are now out on the streets.
LA County Homicide Lieutenant John Corina also explained why the prison reforms were flawed.
So they get kicked out early, aren't really given a chance to rehabilitate while they're in jail.
Whittier residents shared their thoughts on the controversial prison reform bill.
Rehabilitation, how do you measure that?
I don't feel like it's working. There's just more crime out there. I truly don't believe that some people want all change.
Michael Christopher Mejia had a long rap sheet in criminal history. Known by his street name of Stomper, Mejia was a heroin user and full-time gang member. As a member of the East LA gang, Winter Gardens, Mejia had their name tattooed on his neck and had the WG letters tatted across his entire face. The gang member was high off heroin when he shot and killed his so-called primo, Roy Torres, on a Monday afternoon in East LA, just hours before the deadly confrontation with police officer Keith Boyer. Roy Torres, 47 years of age, lived in his aunt's converted garage with his girlfriend, Victoria Pineda. Michael Mejia and Roy Torres were friends and would often hang out together. Mejia told authorities that Torres was his cousin, though Torres' relatives insisted they were not related. In the evening of February 19, 2017, Victoria Pineda's cousin came over to visit at the house. Pineda and her cousin had planned a night out and left in Roy Torres' car, a silver Dodge Stratus, while Torres stayed at home. After about 2 hours, Pineda eventually returned home and parked on the street in front of the garage. Victoria Pineda and her cousin walked into the garage and found Roy Torres and Michael Mejia talking. Mejia said Torres chose the other side, then took off his shirt, revealing a gun tucked in his waistband. In the early morning after, Michael Mejia told Pineda and her cousin to leave, but they refused. Mejia then suggested the group all have a shot of liquor, then took out a gun, pointed it at Roy Torres' head, and began counting down from 10. Michael Mejia shot Roy Torres on the count of 8, killing him instantly. Mejia then turned to Pineda and told her to give him the car keys. Pineda felt she had no choice and complied. Michael Mejia left in the Dodge, and Pineda's cousin called 911. When officers responded to the scene, they found Pineda and her cousin distraught. Torres was lying dead on the ground with a gunshot wound to the right eye. Roy Torres was pronounced dead from the headshot wound at 5:29 a.m. 12 hours after the murder of Officer Boyer, a candlelit vigil was held on Monday evening. Some who came to pay their respect shared their thoughts about the events that day.
My son's also an officer for LAPD, and so I feel that we're connected, we're family.
I wanted to show my sons, the importance and the meaning of paying respects and the authorities and what they do for us.
Just showing appreciation to his family and my love and support.
One of the pupils from the high school Keith Boyer's son attended spoke of how Officer Boyer would often give them a ride.
He helped us out by taking us home or to the game.
You just don't realize that tomorrow's never promised.
A very solemn feeling here in Whittier, so stricken with sadness.
Whittier Police Chief Jeff Piper paid tribute to his good friend and the family of Officer Boyer.
You don't know how hard this is.
To the family, this is your family as well, and it always will be.
Feel all the love from everybody in there stopping, saying prayers over him. It was very touching.
We light this candle for Officer Boyer, for his family, for Officer Hazel, and for the men, the women of the Whittier Police Department. God bless you and God bless them.
In the debate and controversy over California's efforts to slash its prison population, the case of Michael Mejia became a political rallying cry. The killing of a police officer galvanized a movement to ask state voters to reverse some of the changes to sentencing laws. As outrage over the reforms continued, it was highlighted even more when it was later revealed that Mejia told detectives the reason he committed the murders was because of Assembly Bill 109.
So it wasn't nothing personal against these specific police officers, just cops in general?
Basically, because this is gonna change everything. AB 109, this is change the Chicano culture. That us gang members, we ain't out there. We ain't the only ones out there. You got rapists out there, child molesters out there. They're still running around. They don't treat them. They treat them lovely. And then, well, us, we're out here take care of our gente, struggling on the streets, trying to take care of our grandma. If that, at least try and give in to you guys, and you guys still like that. Not you guys, but AB 109. They should have left us on pro instead of spending money on AB 109. Spend money on kids that got cancer, kids that need it, instead of us. That's why I did it. What I did for it. I did it for 1,000. So you just said, do it. I want publicity. I got publicity.
Sheriff's officials criticized the reforms, which moved state prisoners to local lockups and pushed lower-level offenders out of custody and onto the streets, offering little deterrent against committing new crimes. As we take a look into Michael Mejia's criminal history, it's easy to understand why the reforms were criticized and why the murder of Officer Boyer caused so much outrage, especially as Mejia was under probation supervision, pursuant to AB 109 at the time of the murders. Michael Mejia first went to prison in 2010 when he was convicted of a brutal robbery. In July 2014, Mejia was sent back to prison and given another 2 years after stealing a relative's car. Mejia was convicted of grand theft auto. In April 19, 2016, Mejia was released from Pelican Bay State Prison. County records show he repeatedly violated his probation rules, such as avoiding gang activity and staying clear of drugs. Authorities sent him to county jail on 3 occasions between July and December 2016. In January 2017, Mejia was jailed for a 4th time when sheriff's deputies found a bag of meth in his property. The maximum penalty was 6 months in jail, but the prosecutor, who was not aware of Mejia's long rap sheet, offered a plea deal for just 1 month. With credit for time already served, Michael Mejia was released just 2 days later. A few days after his release, deputies got a 911 call from Mejia's house. When they arrived, Mejia ran away, but authorities later found him and sent him back to jail for a 5th time. 10 days later, Mejia was released again on February 11th. He was referred for inpatient drug treatment, starting on February 16th. But just 5 days later, on February 20th, Mejia fatally shot his cousin and killed a police officer. The Marshall Project, when reviewing the case, found a chain of events that allowed Mejia to remain free despite his record of criminal behavior. The group concluded that Mejia was allowed out of jail with little punishment or treatment for his escalating drug problems. County agencies failed to document all of his rule-breaking, didn't share important information with each other, and gave him an excessive number of chances, while he continued breaking the rules of his supervision. The 3rd of March 2017, 11 days after the murder of Officer Boyer, the funeral finally took place at the Calvary Chapel Church in Downey, California. Hundreds of people gathered at the chapel on a Friday morning to honor the fallen Whittier officer. Officer Boyer's children bravely spoke about their father in an incredible act, which can only be described as merciful. They said they forgave the man who took their father away.
God has given me the strength to forgive the man who did this. To me, it is not a man who did this, but the evil of this world. This man was just a face. He is lost in his life, and I pray one day he soon finds himself and change for the better.
I'm going to tell you all that there are times that I don't have the strength to do on my own what I know is right. Like forgiving the man who committed the acts that brought us here today. I could accept anger into my heart. I could judge him and I could condemn him. And very few in this room would blame me. But my father taught me to choose the right thing, and he brought me up in the ways of the Lord.
I pray that you would reveal yourself in a mighty, mighty way to the hearts of everyone here, Lord. God, we love you and we praise you in your name. Amen.
Monday, March 6, 2017, Michael Christopher Mejia appears for the first time at Bellflower Superior Court in Bellflower, California. Mejia was charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, 1 count of carjacking, and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Mejia was also charged with special circumstance allegations of multiple murders, murder of a police officer, and murder to escape arrest. The special circumstance charges made Michael Mejia eligible for the death penalty. The defense attorney entered a not guilty plea for all counts. Michael Mejia's family and more than a dozen police officers showed up at the courthouse hearing. May 15, 2017, at an arraignment hearing in Norwalk, California, Michael Mejia entered not guilty pleas once again. The accused cop killer was smiling and laughing as his own family members were crying.
Pleas of not guilty are entered.
After entering his pleas, Mejia was ordered to return to court on May 30th. The scheduled hearing was meant to enable a judge to decide if there was enough evidence to warrant a trial. The district attorney's office had not yet decided if it was seeking the death penalty. Thursday, June 22, 2017, a tape-recorded interview is played in court during a hearing to determine if there was enough evidence for Mejia to stand trial for the murders.
If I had a smoke pig, I'd be me. Yeah, I'm just tired of them talking to us down, us Mexican, us gang members putting us down, us Raza down. Sometimes we won't even do. Sometimes we're not even the ones out there committing crimes. And I believe that we're getting treated like they want everything. They don't give us. They always just want to lock us up, give us more time. Other than that, I mean, I ain't got nothing against them.
Upon hearing the tape-recorded interview, the judge ordered a trial to take place, but no date was set. Monday, August 14th, 2017, at a pre-trial arraignment hearing, which was due to last 1 week, Michael Mejia looked around solemnly in the courtroom. Mejia responded politely to the judge. When asked about a date for his next appearance, Mejia pleaded not guilty to all charges. Friday, February 16, 2018, the prosecutor announced in court that the district attorney's office would seek the death penalty. In response, Mejia smiled, stuck out his tongue, and appeared to blow a kiss when the decision was read out by District Attorney Garrett Dameron. Thursday, February 18, 2021, 3 years after Officer Boyer's murder, at a hearing at Norwalk Superior Court, prosecutors told the judge in the case the LA County District Attorney's Office was no longer seeking the death penalty against Michael Mejia. The decision by the DA's office was the opposite of his stance in 2018, when prosecutors said they were going for the death penalty in the case of Michael Mejia. But under new DA George Gaskin's directive, the DA's office would no longer seek the death penalty. The two prosecutors in the case told the judge at a pre-trial hearing they were against that decision. Over the objection of Mr. Jeff Lewin and myself, and despite our attempts to prevent this from happening, we've been ordered to remove the death penalty as punishment consideration in this case, District Attorney Garrett Dameron told the judge during the hearing. Matt Murphy, who represented Boyer's son, Boyer's stepfather, and Tiffany Garcia, called Gaskin's directives poorly written, contradictory, and unfair to victims' families. August 23, 2021, nearly 4.5 years after the murder of Officer Boyer and Roy Torres, the first day of Michael Mejia's trial begins at Norwalk Superior Court in Los Angeles County. Mejia arrived in court wearing an LA Dodger ski mask covering his face. Because of social distancing, the jury took all but 2 of the seats in the courtroom, while an overflow room accommodated about 30 people, including several Whittier police officers. DA Prosecutor Jeff Lewin said in his opening statement, "You're going to hear a step-by-step detail on the crime committed." Lewin told the court, rather than explaining what happened, "You will hear the most incriminating admissions come from the defendant himself, who essentially admits to the crimes committed." The admissions that Lewin was talking about were in the 48-minute interview with Mejia and detectives in the hospital jail ward 8 days after the killings. The defense declined to provide an opening statement. Tuesday, August 24th, Officer Tom Ossendorf was one of the witnesses to take the stand on the second day of the trial. Officer Ossendorf, who at the time of Officer Boyer's murder was talking to Chen Tachia, the person involved in the traffic accident, testified he heard the shots and came running. Ossendorf said, "There were 3 or more, then a few seconds, and then I heard 3 more, before eventually firing all 14 bullets from his gun's clip and wounding Mejia. The killer then surrendered after being shot." Wednesday, August 25th, on the third day of the trial, 3 witnesses to the shooting testified about the events that occurred on the day. Chen Tachia, of Chinese descent, spoke only Mandarin and no English through a court interpreter. Chia said he helped push Mejia's car from southbound Colima to eastbound Mar Vista. Chia told the courtroom, "He told me that he did not own the car and he didn't have any insurance. He kept apologizing. He asked me to help him push his car out of the way." After the Dodge was pushed onto Mar Vista Street, upon returning to his car, Chen Tachia said he heard multiple shots fired, coming from where the silver car had stopped. Michael Mejia, who was wearing an LA County Jail orange jumpsuit, continuously talked with his attorney throughout witness testimonies, and at times looked into the gallery where a handful of family members sat. Francisco Chavez, a truck driver for a trash company that was working near the intersection at the time, claimed he also saw the shooting. Chavez said he saw Mejia get out of the car and put his hands on the roof, with his back to the officers. "I saw the officers patting down the suspect." At one point, Chavez, who was still sitting in the cab of his truck, turned from the scene, but said, "When I turned back, I saw the suspect with a gun and he started shooting at the officers. The officers started running to take cover, and I saw one of the officers get hit a couple of times. That officer never moved again, and he did not use his weapon," Chavez told the courtroom. Officer Hazel, who never returned to duty again, testified about the events that unfolded that day. When arriving to the scene, Officer Hazel said he saw Boyer talking to Mejia. Hazel called dispatch and was told Mejia's car was listed as stolen. Hazel then told the courtroom Officer Boyer then asked Mejia to get out of the car, but the defendant kept stalling. Officer Hazel, who was also on the driver's side of Mejia's vehicle, felt an impact in his stomach that he described as a burning baseball. Hazel managed to return to his car and tried to fire his gun, which malfunctioned. He then went for his shotgun in the cruiser, but by that time, Officer Tom Ossendorf had emerged from near Chanchia's car, fired numerous shots, and hit Mejia. Hazel then noticed Officer Boyer was on the ground. Hazel said he tried to give first aid, but it was of no use. A key issue at trial was whether Mejia was an active gang member. Prosecutors said he was a member of the Winter Gardens gang, based in East LA, citing the many tattoos on his face and body. Experts for the prosecution testified that killing a police officer would elevate Mejia's status in his gang. In the damning audio interview, which was played throughout the trial, Mejia initially told Detective Dean Camarillo, "I don't remember doing none of that," when asked about the murders. But later he can be heard telling the detectives, "I guess you guys have everything down. Smoke my cousin and smoke the cop. I mean, what else do you guys want?" In the taped interview, first played in court at a June 2017 hearing, in which he was ordered to stand trial, Mejia admitted being a gang member.
Straight up, I'm a gang member. I'm an LA active street gang member. I'm Winter Garden, company stomper. I did it for my barrio. I did it for everything I love. I believe it. I mean, this is my religion. If you guys are detectives, you got believe me, you believe it. I respect that to everything to full extent, sir.
Homicide detectives asked Mejia if he was sorry and if he had a message for Whittier police. Mejia was heard saying on the taped interview, "They just got a taste of an LA gang member, a real gang member, and no, I don't feel sorry." When asked by homicide investigators about what happened with Roy Torres, Mejia said Torres was a cool cousin from his grandfather's side, but should have kept his nose clean when he warned him beforehand. Tuesday, August 31st, on the 8th day of the trial, closing arguments were made by both sides before jury deliberation the following day. Mejia's defense attorney, Paul Cohen, said his client wasn't a career criminal and disputed his client was an active gang member at the time. Paul Cohen urged the panel to find his client guilty of the lesser crime of second-degree murder for the killings. Cohen argued there is no indication that he planned these crimes ahead of time. The defense attorney told jurors there shouldn't be any doubt that Mejia was using drugs. In the days leading up to the crimes, voluntary intoxication is key to this case. It was all about drugs and getting high. Prosecutor Jeff Lewin countered that there was no evidence of a methamphetamine-induced psychosis, in which Mejia didn't know what he was doing at the time of the crimes. Lewin concluded his rebuttal argument by playing an audio recording of Mejia telling investigators, when asked if he had anything to say to the Whittier Police Department, Mejia responded, "Train your guys better," and that he didn't feel sorry. In his closing statement, District Attorney Garrett Dameron urged jurors to hold Mejia accountable, in his words, for the ruthless and inhumane killer he is. Wednesday, September 1st, 2021, after a trial lasting just over 1 week, the jury deliberated in less than 2 hours. Michael Christopher Mejia was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count each of attempted murder, carjacking, and possession of a firearm by a felon. Jurors also found true to the special circumstance allegations of murder of a peace officer in the performance of his duties, murder for the purpose of avoiding arrest. They also found true to the gang and gun allegations. Michael Mejia's defense attorney, Paul Cohen, later declined to comment after the verdict. Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, at Norwalk Superior Court, 3 months after being convicted and found guilty, it was time for the final sentencing. This would be the last time Mejia would appear in court. Judge Roger Ito, noting that Mejia had shown no remorse throughout the trial, imposed the maximum sentence in the Superior Court. When speaking on Mejia, Judge Ito said, "He is not contrite. He's quite proud. It's extraordinary to the court that level of callousness. For the double murder of Officer Boyer and Roy Torres, Michael Mejia was twice given a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. In addition to both of the life sentences, Judge Ito also sentenced Mejia to a total of 115 years to life and 34 years for the various other crimes. Whittier Police Chief Aviv Bar, in uniform at the courthouse for Wednesday's sentencing, gave his view on the outcome. The savage execution of one of our officers has changed our department forever. He truly deserves the same sentence he inflicted on Officer Boyer, as he reiterated previous comments that he thought Mejia deserved the death penalty. Outside court, after the verdict, one of Roy Torres' cousins, Tiffany Garcia, described Mejia as an animal who had no remorse. A female juror, who asked that her name be withheld, said jurors needed scant time to come back with a verdict because the evidence was clear. She went on to say, with the confessions that were already made on tape, over and over again, they made it very clear there was no doubt at all. Michael Christopher Mejia is currently 35 years of age and is serving his sentence at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City, California. His life sentence received means he will never be released.